Hey, hello, friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host. And, folks, today, buckle up. Seriously, buckle up. We always have extraordinary people, but this one here, I'm just going to say, is extraordinarily righteous. I'm talking about a man who's literally fighting poverty. One classroom, one country, one partnership at a time. 100 countries worldwide is where this guy has some influence. So please welcome Dr. Lester Sandres Rapalo, Ambassador of Global Advisor and Sustainable Education with the Organization of Poverty Alleviation and Development. He's also got a book dropping. So we're going to integrate some of that into our talk here today. Learning to lead and leading to learn. And folks, we have some incredible breaking news to share. So, Doc, welcome to the show. But you got to tell us right now, breaking news. I'll let you brag for a minute about just some of that fresh baked influence that has just kind of come your way.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the space. Thank you for the time. Yes, I was humbled and honored enough to receive an honoris causa degree um, from the Bharat Virtual University for Peace and Education. They're actually located in India, and the beauty of this, as you mentioned it, right, the global outreach is that it was given to me in Mexico, right, and that just shows you how interconnected human beings and the power of education is at all levels, right, and the idea behind this honorary degree, obviously I see it as a commitment, right,
Mhm.
as a reflection to continue to do the great work that I think that all of us are doing, right, in the many lives that we touch in our daily lives, whether that is as a college professor, as a college administrator, or high school teacher, right?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how does this reflect your journey from your roots de Honduras, right, to this global stage now that you have tremendous influence upon?
Thank you. Yes, I was born in Honduras and raised in Massachusetts. I came to U.S. when I was about 11 years old, and I always say to folks, I used to have a little bit more hair than what I do right now. But my commitment to education and uplift individuals has always been at the core and center of everything that I do in my life, right? Whether that was a professor when I was teaching Valencia College, whether that was as a dean when I became dean of the business and social sciences and history department at a Union College under Dr. Margaret McMenamin, and but
She's a
everything,
stitch, by the way. Yeah,
yes,
just a
is
side note, she's
she's a powerhouse. She's
she
amazing,
is
trailblazer,
amazing.
a trailblazer, someone that I consider not only my friend but a mentor. And she one of the reasons why I felt that connection of working with her and under her leadership is because the passion that she has for students and uplifting students from poverty, right? It is something that aligns our mission and vision. And what I love about OPAT, right, the Organization for Poverty Alleviation and Development, that is international, right? It's reached more than 100 countries, and we promote education at all levels, right? For example, when I was in Mexico and I was honored to receive this award. We were opening one office from the consul of El Salvador, and we had the consul of El Salvador, Ariel Valle, which represent here in New Jersey and New York, and we also have the ambassador of El Salvador, Carlos Garcia. And the objective, obviously, as you know, this is to promote the SDG 4 with the United Nations, which is quality education, right? And how inclusive, equitable, and quality education and promote lifelong learning. And that's something that I have done basically all my career.
Yeah, let me double click on that. So you we had a chance to connect off off mic, and you talked about the fact that education is the ultimate tool for social mobility. Now, there are other people that have shared that, but let's get personal. What's one moment in your own journey where you just realized that education wasn't your career? It wasn't going to be this job, right? It was literally your calling to fight for people who society often overlooks.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I will have to reflect
Because
when.
it's gravitas. You
Yeah,
have it, sir. You
absolutely.
have it, sir. It's
Thank
it
you.
it it emulates in all that you do.
You know, I think that for me the calling when was when I was in my freshman year at the University of Massachusetts, and I was privileged enough to live in the international dorms. And I remember helping a lot of students from Africa and Europe that they were having challenges, right? Adjusting, if you will, to this new American university life and level. And I was almost like the ambassador, right,
Mm,
to help them navigate this new
how foretelling.
life.
How foretelling.
Yeah. And for me that was the moment that I said, I see myself not only as a college educator, but also as someone that I can try to chip in and help a little bit, right? And the beauty of this, Joe, is that if I reflect, and the person that helped me to pursue that education was actually my grandfather in Honduras.
Mm,
And the irony of this, all right, and I mean this sincerely, is that my grandfather was not college educated, right? But he knew the value of education. And I think those words, that message is still in me, right? And I still think about that, how someone that didn't have any college education had that positive, great impact on me to say, hey, I can be someone, I can do someone. And I think that's something that I when I see our students, whether they look like me or not, my role and my commitment is to help them, right? And promote that lifelong learning, right? That mission of always helping and giving, and almost it's almost like a global humanitarian weight of uplifting human beings, right? We have or at least that's the way I see it. I have this wonderful opportunity throughout my career, working in perhaps one of the largest and best systems in education, CUNY, SUNY, and Union and Valencia College, where I saw many students from all walk of life, and my role was to help them. And I still find joy in that. I think that's something that I do it. And just to reflect on what you mentioned earlier, the book basically that I'm publishing right now touches on that, like how many mentors throughout my life helped me to understand, nurture, and embrace education and how to pay it forward.
yeah, I want to really touch down on that book and the opportunity that we all have to dig in to that. But here's what I find fascinating. You're operating really at this nexus, this intersection of education, diplomacy, business,
Yes.
social social justice. And there's probably a few other things you might want to throw in. And now this honorary degree, so you've got legal advocacy in the mix. So when you're consulting with local politicians for funding opportunities, which you do on a regular basis,
Yes.
how do you help them understand? Because all of the ponds are kind of drying up these days.
Hmm. Hmm.
And as they say, when the ponds dry up, all the animals tend to look at each other just a little bit differently, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
how do you convince people that they're not investing in education for, just the marginalized communities, and the fact that it's not charity, but it's economic development strategy?
Side.
How are you persuading in that arena?
You know, one of the main reasons that I provide to all these elected officials and diplomats is the message that said, if you invest in your community, you investing in your nation, you investing in your country, and for every dollar, right, that you invest in a student, the return investment, if you will, it can be anywhere between $2 to $5 in C, right? And you can compensate that in many levels, right? Poverty, you can crime rate, social mobility, right? Your GDP, how that help you to grow. So it's not just as you mentioned it, right? It's not just a handout. It's actually you literally investing in your country, you investing in your community, and by default, you creating this space where you help students to lift themselves, and you help communities to be more um, progressive in a way, right? You help communities to be more sustainable. You help to fight crime rate. You help to crime to fight poverty. You help to fight many internal fights that we our society face nowadays, right? And I think that's something that to measure the success, that's something that that we do, right? And how that helps from the sustainable point of view, right? How does that help the high quality education, and that they can be a reality for all of us, right? It doesn't have to be just for a very privileged sector, and that's something that I always convey that message to diplomats, right? I was mentioning to you, Joe, earlier that I have the wonderful opportunity to work with the Council of GLACO. GLACO is an organization here in New York that represent all the Latin American consulates. And when I convey the message and I meet with them, once 2 weeks or give it take, right? I said to them, look, what are you doing to as an ambassador, as a advocate of your country to provide opportunities to your students, right? To the students of your country that live in this great nation, whether that is through a scholarship, whether that is to internships, and we find ways, and or at least that's my role, right, to find venues and avenues to help to connect the students with the learning objective and the learning goal, which is to uplift social upward mobility, right?
So
And
good.
that's something that I'm very happy to do. Another thing that we did, I remember this when with Dr. McMenamin, we started the first international youth festival for peace, and this happened in the city of Elizabeth in New Jersey, and we partnered with the UN. The UN Association of El Salvador, and we promoted basically the culture of peace and nonviolence, and how the SDG 4, which is quality of education, is intersected, aligned with everything, right? That we do as college professors, as a college administrator, right? To find that equilibrium, if you will, of sustainable education, advocacy for peace, social justice, and nonviolence, right? And promote that culture of peace that we desperately need nowadays.
My guess, Lester, is there is so much of what you're talking about right now. And I've had conversations with you before, and you live a life in alignment. In fact, you use that word quite often. And I can't think of a more powerful word than aligning one's, heart work to their mind work to their, Tuesday work, just all of that. So learning to lead and leading to learn is the book dropping at a time when, you know what, leadership is broken in so many sectors. We don't need any more leaders. That's just the reality. We do not need another leader. We need more of the right kind. And now you've written with the perspective of someone who's been honored for work in peace and education, but there's a core message. There's a core message. My guess is, if I just put that book into Chat GPT and said, "All right, Claude, tell me the core message. What is the core message that comes out of this life work, Lester?"
Yes, I think that the message of the book transcend my personal narrative and journeys, while offering a very universal, applicable framework of how organizations are run and how organizations can be successful by exploring, I would say, a powerful synergy between learning and effective leadership, which is very, very complex and unique and rich to do, right? All of us have a framework of what an effective leader is or what an effective leadership should look like. And I think that the book, right, discovers that, or at least that's my intent, right? How reciprocal relationships can be a catalyst for sustainability, uh, right, sustainable growth as a person, while you fostering a crucial um, adaptability, right, and
Mm.
cultivate that long lasting um, lifelong learning mentality. And I think that's
Who's the reader that you had in mind when you were writing this book? I'm going to assume it was you're a lifelong educator, so I'm
yeah,
assuming that it was for educators. But I suspect also that those principles might apply outside of the academic realm.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that at least my hope, right, in the target audience is for anyone that is willing to explore the possibility to jump into any leadership role, right? And my intent in the book, or the objective of the book, is to share my own experience through navigating those waters, right? That, as you mentioned, it is not linear. It doesn't have to be linear. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think it's ever linear. And how each experience as a person, you have to take the best of it, right? And how that prepares you to be a leader, right? And that's something that I share my I basically share my journey, right? And what worked, what didn't work, what how can I reflect on that. And so basically the book is for those individuals that really want to explore or see themselves, to say, hey, I want to be I want to learn more of how to navigate the leadership roles in any organization, right? Not,
Mm.
it doesn't have to be necessarily in higher education. It can be in any industry. And actually, I consulted a lot with many individuals from the law industry, the business industry, and I say, hey, what actually worked for you and what didn't work for you? And that's something that I think that is reflected in the book. And that's why I titled it, learning to lead and leading to learn, because we always learning. I think that's the beauty of our industries, right? And I think that if you are a lifelong learner, right, it's not a necessity. I think that is something that is a commitment that we have in our life, because everything moves, and we have to learn how to move and dance through the times and the new realities, right? For example, I think we mentioned it before, like how artificial intelligence is shifting and recalibrating the role of many industries, and how we have to adapt and learn and lead, and how can we do that while using this new platform, this new reality, this new technology. So
Cada dia. No?
cada día, total,
Cada dia. So
totalmente.
I can't wait to just like get my mitts into that book, and we'll talk about how others can access that as well. But looking ahead, so you
Ajá.
got the book launch. You're expanding big time OPAD's work globally. You're becoming, um, you're building upon this, and I pulled this from our discussion as well. You're building loving communities. I'm like, oh, that is so good, so good. And now you have this incredible recognition, really strengthening the foundation of your commitments to serve
Mhm.
students on a global platform. So, what's the vision? That's my wonder is, I wonder. So, if somebody picked up the newspaper in 2030, are you ready for this one?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
picking up the newspaper, right? And read about Dr. Lester Sandres Rapalo's impact. What would your story say? Where are you going, man?
I think that I would love, at least I hope, I would love that story to be how the work that we do in AutoPad, whether you are um, a, a consul or an ambassador, or a country in development, and how that establish productive partnerships between academia, government, and the community to improve educational opportunities for all. At least that is the core and essence of something that I would love to be known for. That's something that how to establish productive partnerships between academia, government, and the community to improve educational opportunities for all. I think that's at the core. That is something that I live by, and I do it. And I think that you and I and everyone that is in the higher education sector, that's what we, at least that's what we thrive in, right? In our day-to-day life and operation.
It's not a job. It is a
No,
calling
no,
for all of those that are truly doing the most important work. So
no.
I wish we had another hour, but we're gonna seat backs up, tray tables. We're coming in for a landing now. So, any final words? We've got some. I know we've got somebody listening right now who might be wondering how can they find their worthy work, because you have not necessarily been chasing the hierarchy. You've looked at doing very impactful and interesting work. So, somebody that's maybe like wondering and maybe also kind of wandering, right? How do they join this mission for fighting for people on the margins?
Wow, I think that, and I think I mentioned it before with you. I think that the calling have to born within yourself, and I think that is there for everyone, right? And the call of action, in at least in my humble experience and my humble outlook, is to um, is to convince the audience, right, to join the effort to make sustainable, high quality education a reality for all. I think that, and how can they go about it? Reaching out to individuals like you, myself, creating those inner circles, right? Those circles where they can see how their mission and vision is aligned with education, and how impactful they can be while doing so, right? And how they can promote that culture of peace, nonviolence, and while still carry on the United Nations SDG for quality of education for all.
Mm, mic drop, right? So this has been the show, and where we've learned that true leadership, it's not about climbing hierarchies. It's not getting up the org chart. It's about building ladders for others
Absolutely.
to climb, right? Dr. Lester, he reminds us that the good life, it really isn't about what you accumulate. It's about what you contribute. And
Exactly.
my goodness, sir, I'm just so grateful that you were able to join us here today. I want to ask if somebody wants to, is it an opportunity to pre-order the Leading to Learn book?
Not yet, but when it comes available, I will make sure to reach out to you. You
Yeah,
will
and we'll
get it.
make
Yeah.
sure that we use
Yeah.
all the channels available to get that out.
Absolutely.
How about if they want to connect to OPAD's mission?
Definitely, they can go to the opad.com, the website, and they can definitely reach out to me via email, or the ambassadors that we have throughout the world, right, from Switzerland to Spain, Mexico, United
Over
States.
100 countries, folks.
Yes,
It's a big, big world.
totally.
Yes. And also in our just local action, I want to just encourage and challenge everybody to look around your own community, right? You don't have to hop on a plane and go visit the consulate.
Mhm.
Who's being underrepresented? Who's being underserved? What educational barriers exist in your own backyard? Start building those loving communities that Lester talks about right where you're at. So I encourage you to share this episode, because this is just a golden gem with someone who needs to hear that success. It's not about what you achieve for yourself. It's about what you make possible for others. Yeah.
Excellent.
Peace, friends. Thank you again, Dr. Lester.
Thank
Take
you.
good care.
Likewise.